most people are going to be skeptics by default.
Yeah.
It's not until you experience a particular thing that would make you believe in anything, you know, like in ghosts and aliens and whatever. You have to have an experience yourself to believe it. Because hearing other people's, you know, their second-hand experiences isn't gonna convince you. You have to see it yourself.
But it depends how like close your group is, though. Like if I came up to you and was like, genuinely saw a ghost, might be my mind. I saw something.
Yeah.
It depends if you believe I was bullshitting. Because I'm
I would
person.
more likely believe you than not.
Yeah.
Because I don't see any reason that you'd lie about that. But
It's
if it was
like,
someone I didn't know, I would immediately think they're lying.
Yeah.
It's the
But
opposite.
with your story about the lady in white across the river,
Yeah.
I believe that. Like, I have no reason not to believe that. But it could have been your mind as a kid.
Yeah, it
but
could have been.
I've never think that's bullshit. That's bullshit.
Just as a recap, people who have not listened to previous episodes, when I was a kid, I saw a lady in white. You say on the other side of the river, but for some reason for me, I remember it being in my garden. I'm not sure which one of those it was, because I was so young. But my dad said to me that, oh, I came into your room one day and you were just staring out the window at nothing. And then he asked me, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, there's a lady in white in the garden. Type thing. And that was sort of my earliest experience with supposedly seeing a ghost, I suppose.
But wasn't there also, like, in the town we lived in, wasn't there a lady in white that turned into a white rabbit?
Yeah, in the town, well, technically we neither of us lived there, because technically we lived close to the town nearby, but the main big town of the area, I suppose, had this this story of this lady in white who was left at the altar. Very stereotypical lady in white story, like being left at the altar, that's often associated with women in white, and she would take some form around this pub in the town. Sometimes people would say they saw her as like a white rabbit.
I've never seen anything myself. I'd like to. I don't know how I'd react though. But I've never had my mind play tricks on me and stuff.
I think it might be one of those things where, but like they always say that when you're younger you're more susceptible to it. Maybe because the brain is like, as you grow older, it develops in a certain way that stops you being susceptible. It's like they say that like dogs are very sensitive to these sort of things because I guess their brain isn't as complex as ours. And maybe when you're younger and you're at a similar level in like complexity, that you are more susceptible. But yeah, I think it is one of those things that you definitely experience it more when you're younger. Like I've heard a lot of stories of like, it's one of those weird things where it's almost like a parent will tell a child like, oh yeah, when you were younger, you told me this one time that you saw this person who wasn't there, and you had this conversation that didn't happen, and all that sort of stuff, and it's like, it's almost like second hand, so it's another level of doubt.
What does everyone think about ghost attachments, energies? Do you think ghosts would their physical forms, or it's auras of like you know in certain films they're like looped memories instead of actual ghosts?
Right.
Do you get where I'm coming from?
Like the ghosts almost acting out things they did in life. Just in
so if you saw like a woman dancing on a bridge, she did that at the wedding of
Well, they say that kind of haunting is what's called a residual haunting, so it's residual energy left over from that time.
Satan?
Yeah, to come up with Satan.
Did just come up with Satan.
And this is a Satan's bridge.
This
is Devil's Bridge.
The Devil's Bridge.
We're just getting Satan on Gordon's app there. Nothing you know, just casual, like just have the conversation.
You're talking about residual
But
energy.
yeah, residual...
Satan. Okay, yeah, cool. Thanks, man. Thanks for that.
A residual haunting, which is just energy left over from what has happened in history.
Yeah.
Most of the time it is going to repeat itself. So when you hear ghost stories of people seeing spirits dancing or walking, doing a specific action, usually
It's like
that indicates a residual
yeah,
haunting.
it's sort of like that thing where multiple witnesses will see the exact same thing. Bridge?
No, it said rich.
Rich.
Close.
Oh, well, if he was a highwayman, he probably was killing the rich to steal their money.
It was.
We're just going to make all the connections we can to anything
wonder
called Zap says.
I wonder if
Falling
Leaves
leaf,
falling.
it
if it
sounded
was
like.
claimed as the Devil's Bridge before the Highwayman, or what, like
Probably
what
not.
came first.
I feel like if a highwayman frequented an area,
killed
a lot of people.
Satan would be like,
It-
"Oh, that smells nice."
Well, not even that, just that people would build it up to that degree.
Hype it, yeah.
They would
Yeah.
hype it up and be like, this is Satan's bridge, if you go there,
Yeah.
you're probably going to die.
It's like some certain items the spirit wouldn't want someone touching,
Hmm.
kind of thing. Like it's the same with like guardian angel stuff.
Mm.
Like if the grandson's in trouble,
Mm.
we might get pissed off by whatever. Or maybe it's like people get like weird feelings if they're in weird places. Maybe it's like the guardian angel telling them,
Mm.
or they've just got an extra sense that they haven't unlocked, kind of thing.
Mm. Yeah, it's kind of like that, but like that is more like a guardian angel is kind of like a person thing, right? Like a thing, like a spirit connected to a person.
Yeah.
Whereas this is more like almost a location or an object. Like with Annabelle again, I just bring up Annabelle again. That is like defending an object.
That's meant to be demonic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not.
I don't know if that's.
It's not that Annabelle. It's not that the demon's attached to it. Apparently, it's just it likes it, so it because it's a kid's toy. People will play with it, have it around.
Well, they say that some demons will mimic kids'
Yeah.
voices
Yeah.
to sort of draw people in.
It's
Right.
like the skinwalkers.
I don't know if I've told this story before on the podcast. I'm not sure. My grandparents, where they live, is a house that's always been their family. And my nan's dad, he lived there and he died there. And there was a point in time when which my grandparents still had this mug that he would use.
Yeah.
So it was his mug. If he were to have like a tea, he'd have it in that mug.
Yeah.
And my granddad has said that on multiple occasions he has come out into the kitchen at night to use the bathroom. So you go through the kitchen, you go to the toilet,
And the mug's out.
and the mug's been out on the side.
Weird.
And he's encountered that a few times in his
Yeah.
life.
You've never said that.
I feel like I've told you about that,
I don't.
but
remember
maybe
it.
not on the podcast.
No, I don't remember it. I've got
Yeah.
bad memory.
But that is a thing with my grandparents' home, is because my great grandparents basically built it.
Yeah.
So it has only been in our family, really, that
Yeah.
land. So it has sort of a history with my ancestors, with the people that have lived there. There's a lot of stuff with my uncle as well, who also
Yeah.
died, that they have said there have been interactions like that
Yeah.
can't be explained, that could be explained by something he would have done when he was alive. Because bridge.
I said rich again.
Rich. Oh, I thought it said bridge. I misheard it again as bridge. But my bit of backstory. My uncle, he had a friend who was basically a part of the family, because his friend's family didn't really care about him, so he was sort of just like allowed to go off and do what he wanted. And he spent a lot of time with my grandparents, sort of like as another son.
Yeah.
And him and my uncle were very close. And it just so happened in a boating accident, they both passed away, with my other uncle being the only survivor.
Yeah.
And what they would do, at one period in time, the house that my mother currently lives in used to be a garage. And they used to get on the roof of the garage and run around on it and play on it. And sometimes in my mum's house you will hear the sound of something running around on the roof at night. And it's like at night, it's not like a squirrel.
Yeah.
You can hear squirrels running on there,
Yeah.
but at night, why would a squirrel be out and about at that time? So it does sound, you can hear people running around up there. And also they've said a couple of times that they've heard wires in the attic, like cables being like hit across the ground. Like someone's picked up the wire and like, slapped it on the ground as hard as they could. I've heard that a few times. Like when my stepdad first moved in, he was terrified of the place.
Well, when my dad owned a pub for a little while. When my brother and I stayed there, I was probably
You're pretty young.
16, 17.
Maybe even younger than that.
Yeah.
I feel like it was like your early teens.
Yeah. So
Maybe like
15, 13.
Yeah.
But we got airsoft guns then, so I'd say 13, 14. Because they were a bit dodgy back then.
Oh, you guys get to buy them for
Yeah,
you.
yeah. But we didn't. We got them as kids.
Right, okay.
But the Royal Air Show was weird. It was weird. But my brother James must have been about 22, and he was sleeping in the we had like a attic to the pub, but it was more of a like upstairs landing. You know, like in like horror films, you see the tall stairwells up to the like wooden room. It was like a small stairwell up to this big, like
converted attic.
it was a converted attic, but it was huge,
Yeah.
absolutely huge, and
Yeah.
it went out to a patio. It was a really weird layout, but my brother swore blindly that he saw a little girl at the end of the bed.
Like, what is our view on
Yeah.
a haunting? Like, is
A
it a
haunting.
connection to a place, a connection to an object?
Or a scene being relived in their life
Right,
at a
a
certain
loop.
location.
Yeah.
Like a loop.
I mean, based on what I just talked about, that would make sense, because that's stuff that, like, my uncle did when he was young. He
Yeah.
was young when he did that, and when he died, he was older. That's always, like, a loop of things he used to do when he was younger.
Yeah.
And
But then you see, you hear about people, like, seeing someone waving, or someone just watching someone in the window. You could see people just, like, watching in the window as it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, in general, people stare out the window all the time.
You know, yeah, it's that weird thing where it's like, people are very strange in general. Even if you consider yourself to be, like, mentally stable, healthy in every way, you do have moments where you do
Yeah.
things you almost can't explain. Like, you have a moment where you'll look at yourself in the mirror for a long time, or
Yeah.
you'll look out the window and stare at something that you don't really know what you're focusing on.
Yeah.
I know I've done that a lot, where like it's almost like spacing out, and you're staring at something, and it's almost like a connection there for a moment. Like you feel like, oh, like that thing, like I need to look at that, I need to give it my attention,
Yeah.
but there's nothing there.